WWF Smackdown Just Bring It, released on the PlayStation 2 in 2001. So this was the third game in the Smackdown series, the first to be released on the PlayStation 2, and the final one to be a WWF game, as at this point the World Wrestling Federation would be given a hellacious stunner by the World Wildlife Fund and had to change their name to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. Some say that's the day the company died. I'm not going to argue with that, to be honest with you. But anyway, this was a game I was massively excited for. Back in the day, I was really looking forward to this one. Despite the fact that I was actually no longer watching wrestling at this point. I actually stopped watching WWF not too long after WrestleMania 17. At this point, wrestling was no longer cool amongst my friends group, and I didn't want to be a weird one still watching wrestling, so I stopped, and I missed all the invasion stuff and a lot of the ruthless aggression. But despite the fact I was no longer watching wrestling, I was still interested in the games, and I was still playing and enjoying the games. But yeah, I was really excited for this. One of the reasons because of how much I enjoyed, in particular, Smackdown 2, the previous game, and the fact that it was a new generation. You know, we had a new console, PlayStation 2, new hardware, and I was expecting, you know, wrestling games to be taken to the next level. So when I did finally get my hands on the game, I found myself monumentally disappointed, because that's how I would sum up this game. It's a giant disappointment. It ain't bad. I ain't saying it's bad. It's certainly not bad. It's just very disappointing. One of the main reasons is it doesn't really do much to improve itself over its predecessor. It's very similar. The changes are very few. In fact, the game is very much a step sideways rather than a step forwards, is how I would put it. I mean, if you hadn't played Smackdown 2 prior to this, then it probably would have seemed really cool and really fun, but if you'd actually played Smackdown 2, there wasn't really a whole lot new to see here. That was the major problem. I mean, just looking at the graphics, while yes, they were an improvement over the PlayStation games, they weren't a drastic improvement. They were really quite underwhelming, actually. The PlayStation 2 was definitely capable of much more. I mean, take a look at Metal Gear Solid and God of War. It could do way better. But yeah, it wasn't a drastic improvement over the PS1 game, so pretty underwhelming there in the graphics department. But hey, graphics ain't everything I always say. What about the gameplay? Well, that's the other issue. It's pretty much exactly the same as Smackdown 2. It's got that super fast-paced gameplay, that quite clumsy and clunky look to it and feel to it. But we got the same thing again with this game. The same major gripe I had with Smackdown 1 and 2 was the fact that wrestlers do not stay down. Yep, it's exactly the same in this game. You can hit them with finisher after finisher after finisher. You can cave their goddamn skull in with a steel chair for hours on end. They'll still get up immediately. And goddamn, does it piss me off. So yeah, that's a major problem for me right there. I just hate it so much. Just stay down. Stay down. Nope, not in this game. So, yeah. Like its predecessor, there is a lot of content. You've got a whole lot of match types. Your TLC matches in there. Regular ladder match, regular table match. Hell in a Cell match is back. I Quit match. Slobber Knockout. We've got Ultimate Submission this time round. You can do the King of the Ring tournament. Royal Rumble. You can have an 8-man tag, because this game actually allowed to have 8 wrestlers on the screen at once, which was pretty impressive for the time. You can also have the 3 stages of Hell match as well, which was a pretty cool feature, and a few others in there as well. So yeah, a lot of match types, although a lot of them were still the same and remained pretty much untouched. Same with the TLC match and what have you. Apart from this time round, tables disappeared. Yep, no longer stay in the ring. Tables would disappear and would continue to disappear for a long time to come. God damn it! It's just nowhere near as fun putting guys through tables where it disappears immediately. And again, you can only really do like one move, which is like the power bomb through the table. I could never figure out another way to put people through it. Maybe there was. I tried. I couldn't do a rock bottom like you could do previously. I couldn't do any other moves. All I could do was that damn power bomb through the table. So, I don't know. Maybe there was other ways. I've never been able to pull it off. Apart from as well actually being able to allow them on the table and jump off the top rope and go through it. But, yeah, that's not too much fun, is it? Same with the Hell in a Cell match. It's still just the cage around the ring, not the actual Hell in a Cell structure. Although you could have the 6-man Armageddon Hell in a Cell match, which was actually pretty cool. So, there is that. And also going back to the TLC or just the regular ladder match, you could actually lock in the walls of Jericho on top of the ladder. So that was pretty cool as well. So, yeah. A new addition to the game this time around was full entrances for the first time in the Smackdown series. And they did look really cool for the time. You know, they were definitely very impressive to see back then. You know, Triple H coming out, spitting his water, Undertaker coming down on his bike. You know, the arenas looked pretty cool as well. They actually had the WrestleMania 17 arena. The previous two games didn't really have like the actual arenas. They just have like a Raw and SmackDown arena and then like a generic pay-per-view arena, but you had the actual WrestleMania 17 arena, so that was pretty cool. You've also got your backstage areas which you can freely brawl around. There's a lot of different places to go. Again, like the previous two games, and I've always enjoyed having a good brawl around the backstage, so yeah, a lot of areas to beat the shit out of your opponent, so that's always fun. You got 40 plus wrestlers as well, which is a decent size, not absolutely massive. I believe at the time there were quite a few guys missing. Apparently it was a little bit outdated, but as I said, I wasn't watching wrestling at the time, so I don't know who was actually in the WWF back then. So, but that's what I heard, it was actually a little bit dated, but you still got over 40 superstars, so that's pretty cool. A few guys to unlock as well, including Fred Durst, actually. Yeah, Fred Durst is a playable character. You know, frontman for Limp Bizkit. Yeah, that's a thing. For some fucking reason. Who the fuck wants to play as Fred Durst? Are you kidding me? Jesus. You can also, for the first time in the Smackdown series, fight in the crowd. You can actually hop over the barricade or throw your opponent over the barricade. I guess it was kind of cool. There wasn't a whole much point to it, and it did look kind of weird. The way the cardboard cutout crowd just kind of parted. It actually looked kind of daft, to be quite honest with you, but hey, look, you could fight in the crowd, so there's a thing. And also, for the first time in the Smackdown series, commentary. Yes, commentary from Michael Cole and Taz. But I'll be honest, I think it's safe to say this is the worst commentary I think I've heard in not just a wrestling game, but any game ever. It's absolutely appalling. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. It's so bad. It makes Michael Cole look like a good commentator in real life. Like, imagine that. Like, he's worse in this game than he is in real life. It's just so disjointed and just weird. Sometimes it is funny, but it's mostly just goddamn annoying. I mean, thank God you can turn it off. That is one good thing, you can actually turn it off. But, I mean, just listen to some of these lines.
What's gonna happen? How can this happen? I can't believe it! The following match will be an important match. Good. Is he alive? Is he still alive?
Hey! Whoa, 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 whoa! Are you really? Really? Oh, baby! Oh my gosh! Oh! Ah! Oh man! Oh wow!
Some of them just don't make any sense. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, it's House of the Dead 2 bad. Like, really? But then again, House of the Dead 2 so bad it's good. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is just bad. But yeah, awful. The commentary is absolutely awful. It was done much better in Warzone and Attitude. I mean, it wasn't exactly great in those, but good God, is it bad in this game. Jesus fucking Christ. Now, rather than season mode, you get story mode this time round. Now, I was never particularly fond of season mode in Smackdown 2. If you saw my review of that, I basically summed up as being pretty goddamn tedious and not a whole lot of fun to play. Now, this is definitely improvement, although it's still not that great. It's definitely not as tedious. The loading times have been drastically reduced. You know, it's not as painful to play through, but it's still not all that great. You can pick any wrestler you want and pretty much go for any belt you want, but you'll have choices to make this time round. It's only very short for every wrestler you pick. You only do like 3 or 4 matches, I think, before it's over, and then you can start again with the wrestler and pick different choices. There's a few scenes you'll see here and there, but none of them are particularly interesting. Okay, there's one where you can see Kurt Angle in his milk, which is pretty funny, but yeah, they're not that great in terms of the scenes, and because it's got like different choices and things, you'll have to like keep going through a lot of the same stuff in order to be able to pick the other choices. So you'll be going through a lot of the same scenarios a few times if you want to sort of see everything, unlock everything. So it gets a bit repetitive in that sense. And there is a first-person perspective that'll kick in every once in a while. You get to sort of wander around, but there's not really a whole lot of point to it. You're on a time limit, and you've usually just got to find someone to speak to them. So it's a little bit pointless. Would have been nice for you just to be able to freely just wander around, but that's not quite the case with this. But yeah, it definitely is an improvement over Smackdown 2 season for sure, but it's still a little bit off the mark. It's probably something you might only play through just a few times before you probably get bored. So yeah, it's not that special. It's not awful or anything. It just, again, it could have been done quite a bit better in my opinion. But as I said, definite improvement over Smackdown 2, a step in the right direction. But yeah, not really much to say other than that. As I said, you know, it's mostly very, very, very similar to Smackdown 2 and doesn't do much really to differentiate itself from that game. The improvements are very little. You know, as I said, a lot of the match types remain exactly the same. It's still got that same fast-paced, clunky gameplay style where the wrestlers do not stay goddamn down. You know, you have got the addition of commentary, but as I said, it's the worst fucking commentary I've ever heard. But yeah, there's just, if you had played Smackdown 2, there just really isn't a whole lot to see here, and I think a lot of people, you know, like myself, were expecting something a lot more, with it being, you know, the first game on, you know, the new hardware at the time, and yeah, as I said, it's pretty much just a step sideways for the rest of the games at the time rather than a step forward. And yeah, there is definitely fun to be had here, as I said, especially if you hadn't played Smackdown 2, if you've not really played any other wrestling games around the time. You know, overall, as I said, the game, while good, you know, while a decent wrestling game, it was overall a big disappointment. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.